Hello and welcome everyone, we Weeb online and today I'm gonna continue the story What If Naruto Did the Legendary Summoning Part 3. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and to watch more videos like this, subscribe to my channel and turn that bell notification on so you never miss an upload. Now wasting no more time, let's begin.
It's good to see you again. Naruto had barely finished speaking when a blur of speed approached him, embracing him and leaning on his shoulder. "Naruto, I'm so glad you're back." Naruto smirked. "Wait a minute, is that Sasuke? You have no idea what it's been like. The Hokage assigned someone named Sai to our team, and it's been pure hell. He insults everyone and shows no emotion, and he took my place as the stoic one. So, what were you up to on that little training trip?" Sakura inquired, absent-mindedly rolling a ball of water across the back of her palm. "Aside from growing 8 inches taller and developing muscles. For starters, I met your brother again, Sasuke, and he said that the core groups for Akatsuki were pretty much finalized. That every ring they have is assigned to someone, and that the last member of the group is one hidden, formerly of Hot Springs. This is supposed to be the guy who wiped out the village. He's a worshipper of some dark god called Jashin and can't properly die." Sakura grimaced. "Oh, that dark god name felt nasty and foreboding. Are you still getting those flashes of insight you were getting before I left?" "Oh yeah," Sakura exclaimed, sending a shower of droplets into the air. "It's developing really well, more of an actual sense now. I can sometimes get an idea of what a seal is supposed to do before puzzling it out the long way. Tsunade suspects it's because my heritage helps me understand the celestial tongue, and I can see the chakra fields of active techniques. Still got to refine that some more, but Sasuke is annoyed that I can tell which of his attacks are illusions now." Sakura then smirked. "But I keep hearing snippets of music, or song, or something. I suppose it'd be pretty annoying if I couldn't quite hear it, but it's pleasant to listen to anyway." She perked up. "But I did manage to stabilize the water and fire Rasengans, and I'm working on earth right now. But if you have a good wind, I'll take it first." "Nice. Anyway, I got a good library of mid-level stuff in my 2 primary elements. But as you know, the important bit for me is always going to be the big booms. Specifically attacks powerful enough to beat an Akatsuki member without sacrificing the kind of tactical flexibility a tail cloak doesn't often allow." Slowly, Sasuke nodded. "They're fully aware of what tailed beasts and their containers are like, so they'll be prepared to fight enemies who are all power, strength, and possibly straight-line speed rather than mobility and so on. Add to that the fact that they all have something that allows them to take on an entire village, and you're getting close to the truth." Naruto sighed. "Did you know that one of them is so old that he actually fought the first? Well, besides Madara, and this guy appears to have come out of it without the massive and crippling damage Madara suffered." Sakura returned her gaze to the Akatsuki dossiers. "Some of them clearly have weak points, but they'll be heavily guarded. After all, there's not much we can do to exploit Deidara's Clay's predominantly earth nature if he blows us up from a kilometer away." Naruto shook his head. "Now, I was mentioning things I did. Most of the big ones are Rasengan based, of course, like how I worked with changing the size of it so I can hold one as big as a fridge, or how I finally stabilized the wind Rasengan. It's throwable, too. Just split the wind chakra against your hand to separate it and it goes flying. But something interesting happened when I combined the two. Watch." The Rasen Shuriken. It was stunning. Sakura and Sasuke stood there in awe as a shadow clone rammed into the massive stone target in the experimentation area. The impact weakened the technique's stability, causing it to detonate. The two were using their enhanced perception abilities to gain a proper understanding of what was going on, and it was simply amazing. They witnessed the wind vortex split into countless blades of pure chakra that, simply put, diced everything down to the size of dust. It was the most perfect manifestation of wind chakra they had ever seen. As it faded, Naruto rubbed the back of his head. "Hey, still not finished. I want to be able to throw it like the wind Rasengan, and see if I can put another chakra type in there while keeping it stable. If you manage to put fire into it too, Sasuke, what we might get then is just stupendous. Either that or we blow up the village," muttered Sasuke. Interesting point. Is there any reason you're not using that soaring short sword I got you in sand?" Naruto shook his head. "I'm not much of a fan of swords in general, let alone the fact that, well, I kinda blew it up." Sakura exhaled a sigh. "How?" "Because it converts chakra. I channeled a lot of chakra into it." "All right, no more. I did find these," Naruto said, pulling a pair of tri-pronged kunai from his pouch. "Jiraiya wasn't much help, and the Thunder God seals on this are the most absurdly complex I've ever seen." "Where did you get them?" Sasuke inquired. We went all over the place, visited the sites of Dad's great battles, and discovered a couple left. I believe one is from stone, and the other is from a battle on the outskirts of the village proper. That one must be from his engagement with Madara. He never bothered to clean them up much. Sakura winced as she looked around. You're not kidding about the complexity. It's like a book tried to get into my head through my retina all at once. Give me one of them in a month, and I might learn something. Naruto gave a nod. No problem. They're not exactly secret. He made thousands. So, same team layout as before. Naruto shook his head. By the way, did either of you make Jonin? Because they could be important, otherwise, whoever has the best plan calls the shots. Sakura's head shook. We're still Chunin. They want everyone that high rank to have at least hit 16 so we don't end up like Kakashi or Guy. Not much of a chance there, Naruto grumbled. That said, Tenten is expected to be promoted in the next round, and Hinata has the skills. Shika might be considered, but it took a lot of convincing to get him to accept the first promotion. And I swear he only went to the finals because they didn't have a prelim. Naruto smiled. That sounds like him. How's Hinata? She has a few confidence issues, but nothing compared to what she used to have. That promotion before you left really helped, and she's been experimenting with the gentle fist a lot. Remember the chitin? Naruto gave a nod. She made a version of it that cuts whatever is inside to bits, and she's even working on projectile mode with that gentle step thing of hers. And she got a hair animation technique from Tsunade last year, and she's actually worked out how to project a gentle fist strike with her hair. Sasuke groaned. And I thought having long hair was a sign of bad planning. Sakura laughed. So did her father. Said she wasn't quite skilled enough yet to allow the handicap of a long, free hairstyle. Then she disabled his entire arm in a single strike with it. Oh, but I forgot, you don't know how everyone else is doing. Everyone in the Konoha 12 made Chunin. He was angling for his elements to qualify for Jonin, Shino's. Well, Shino, Team 10 are pretty much average members of their clans with the... Naruto gave a nod. Wait, you said Tenten and Hinata are skilled enough for Jonin. Do you know what elements they have? Sakura gave a nod. Both have water, though Tenten uses it in blade channeling to allow her to use even more ludicrously large weapons, and Hinata as a chakra conduction medium for her more arcane stuff. Tenten also has fire, and Hinata developed her wind enough to make her chitin variants even worse. How? Let's just say some of them are no longer defenses. I still remember being inside her heavenly razor whirlwind. Naruto winced as he considered it. Chitin infused with pure wind nature chakra. Yep, I know Shadow clones almost anything, but that move powdered a log. Team Kakashi, you and Team Guy are needed to assist Sand after some S-ranked missing nin attacked the village, kidnapped the Kazekage, and poisoned one of their Jonin. Kankuro, it says. Naruto cursed. Damn, I'm only in Konoha for a day and Gaara gets kidnapped again. If this is going to be a regular occurrence with me in Konoha, maybe we should go on another training trip. Sarutobi groaned. I'm only telling you what the message said, and knowing Guy, he'll make it a race. Sakura blinked, and her aspects changed to medic, water. Sasuke, get me some water, boil it. Naruto, I might need a chakra transfusion later. This poison is nasty, but for now, make sure you have all my equipment ready. Tenten, do you have any blood pills in your equipment stock? It'll be easier to purge this stuff if I can just get rid of some of the blood with it. Neji, let me know if his vitals change. The Sand Ninja watched in awe as what had been two ready combat ninja teams transformed into a makeshift hospital staff. Lee caught their gaze and gave them a thumbs up. The training provided by the Sanin's most youthful Tsunade includes medical cross-education. I am a qualified trauma medic and always carry extra bandages. Temari reloaded her weapons. Oh, Naruto, didn't your teammate give you the other one of these swords? Yeah, but I have several times your other brother's chakra on tap. Naruto shrugged. I basically blew it up. That's something I do frequently, right? He's out of danger. Sakura wiped her brow. This poison is lethal, but I've turned it on its head with a medical technique. We have enough antidote for about a dozen doses. Did you manage to turn the poison into its own antidote? Temari was taken aback. Yeah, it's a fairly straightforward concept. You examine its effects, and if it's a chakra-enhanced poison, invert the chakra component. What's left is something that binds to the same receptors but has the exact opposite effect. Of course, too much of either is still fatal, but match the doses and you're golden. And I'm supposed to be the one who makes complicated things simple, said Sasuke, shaking his head. You seem a lot more social, Sasuke, Naruto remarked as they dismantled the medical equipment. I blame Sai. I wanted to be as different from him as possible. Itachi's feet drew a squint from Team 7. Something I've always wondered, Naruto said. Why are you and the shark guy on the same team in the first place? Kasama and I formed something of a double act, Itachi explained. It's a Tsukuyomi and Bok thing. Sakura stifled a laugh before realizing she'd caught a reflection of Itachi's eyes as he said that. Exactly, he said as she faded into darkness. Sakura looked around her, an illusion world created by one of Itachi's incredible techniques, and tried to dispel, to no avail, before her eyes widened as if in understanding and she returned her gaze to her captor. So sharing in illusions are the most powerful, right? Yes, Itachi said solemnly. And disrupting your chakra does not work because the illusion takes place entirely in your mind. From within the illusion, you cannot disrupt your chakra network. Then I'm not worried, Sakura said with a smile. This technique has a drawback. Its limitation is that it can only target one person at a time. So, you know very little about me, Itachi Uchiha. I am Sakura Haruno, born to unimportant civilians in the great interplay of the world. Nonetheless, I am of divine descent and have a form of true sight. I have God's blood on both sides of my body. I am many, not one. Someone punched Itachi in the back, and as he turned, the entrapment fell, freeing the girl from her illusory bonds. He was confronted with 4 nearly identical Sakuras, each with a different set of eyes, aquamarine and sky blue, orange and deep brown. Aspects. Itachi, the 5th, with bright green eyes, cracked her knuckles. I have 5, and my soul is strong enough to support them all at the same time. My mind is a fortress against invaders, she thought, and the next sentence was sung in a music-like tongue. The meaning of the alien syllables somehow inherent in their very nature. I am the god's legacy, and you have no place here. The world disintegrated. What happened? Naruto asked as Sakura staggered. He had me caught up in his illusions. I broke it with my bloodline, but be careful. I'm not as worried. Millie can break any illusion on me by scrambling her Yaokai. Naruto shrugged. However, with that one, it could take hours of subjective time before she noticed. I just caught it. That's some kind of clone technique. Hissed Sasuke through his teeth. Sakura activated her true sight by channeling her gold chakra. There we go. Yeah, I wasn't looking deep enough. Instead of Itachi, there's some self-contained Jonin level chakra supply there. Right? Naruto said before disappearing with a pop. Kakashi blanched as he looked behind Itachi. Everyone down. Itachi's copy had barely turned in shock when a flurry of wind Rasengan flew in from all directions and shredded him. Akatsuki robe, missing torso, face looks like a non-Itachi person. Sakura jogged over to the mess. Naruto, really? 12 elemental Rasengan. I didn't realize how good he was at dodging. Naruto shrugged. Then his eyes flickered, and one of my clones reported that Team Guy is fighting Kisame, or someone who looks like him. I recommend you prepare for a reverse summon. I need you to determine which one it is. Does it make a difference? Samehada is a separate entity from Kisame, and if he can't defend against elemental attacks, I can use the same Rasengan Blizzard trick on him. Sakura nodded and walked away. Tenten was flailing around trying to reach a linen storage scroll that wouldn't fall apart in the water prison. Lee was trying to break out by evaporating the water off, and Neji was staying calm and running his Byakugan on high power, straining to see any potential opening. Woo, that's a rush, Sakura exclaimed as she appeared on a rock. Okay, so that chakra source is only about 3 times the normal Jonin level. That isn't Kisame. Sakura, you get the others out of the water prisons, Naruto said as he dispelled Ni, while another clone next to her formed a wind Rasengan. On it, run interference for me, Tag, Midge, Tarka, and Marlene. Her 4 summoned otters nodded firmly and leapt into the water, with the exception of Marlene, who prepared an atlatl. I plan on using his own terrain to get close to the water clones, then a spread of blasting tags, Sakura explained, blinking once from medical to earth. Is there anything you can have your clones do, Naruto? That's another of me. He'll fire off a great breakthrough on the line you throw him, the clone said as he tossed her a kunai. Really? Sakura switched earth to fire. Then I think we can blast the clones without causing any harm to our allies. So I'll just throw a fire tech and let the clone boost it. One of their captives was thrashing wildly and almost breaking the water bubble. Another kept unsealing increasingly long polearms, and that clone had to expand the prison to compensate. And the third was attempting to use the gentle fist to break the increased surface tension and pop the bubble. As a result, a clone was taken aback when he noticed the javelin protruding from his sternum. A hail of other weapons followed, with the damaged clone still cohesive enough to dodge them along with the rest and keep the prison safe. But the battle ended abruptly when a roaring blast of wind-boosted fire carved the water clones away from the prisons and dispersed them. Hey guys, are you all okay? Sakura asked as she skated across the water. Tenten nodded. I gave everyone oxygen pills as soon as the swordsman summoned a lake, she said, reaching out to grab Lee and keep him from falling into the water. Pure fighting spirit is admirable, but it does not allow you to defy physics with the ease that chakra does. A massive blast of power erupted behind Sakura, and she spun to look at it as she heard Tenten muttering behind her. How about 6 gates? Oh, sensei, come on. That is simply excessive. 6 gates. Those must be the inner gates of Taijutsu fame. Sakura switched her non-water aspect back to medical, boosted her sight, and watched as Guy beat the fake Kasama to death. It was incredible. His body was moving so quickly that it ignited the air itself, and it appeared that the attacks were based on physical effect rather than chakra, which would be useful if she ever encountered another chakra drainer. She dashed over to the battleground, forming a clone to examine the non-Kasama, and scanning Guy for any after effects of the gate's use. Guy, how has your body not imploded as a result of that? She inquired absently. Lee was strained the last time he opened the third. My constant training is no longer designed to make me stronger. It's to prepare me for the immense strain of the 8 gates, Guy explained. My body combines the wisdom of my age with the spirit and endurance of youth. Now, see, if I ever had to open the gates, I'd just flood my body with healing chakra to minimize the damage, she nodded. A refreshingly young approach. Awa, Guy, you got him first. 3 Narutos appeared across the lake. Sakura, we're leaving because one of Kakashi's summons discovered the trail. Guy can still move, don't ask me how, so go ahead and lead. 4, Neji said, expanding his senses. There are 4 seals on the cavern wall in addition to this one. Meanwhile, Sakura was inspecting the seal. This thing is nasty, she said. It talks about punishment for the breaker and being defeated by their own power. I'm hoping it's not another chakra drainer. I'll get a clone to take each of the seal tags off, and one of Team Guy can follow to make sure nothing bad happens, Naruto said. Earth, water, rock, or grass mounded together to form a replica of the Naruto clone who had removed the seal. The duplicates were destroyed before they could form by Guy and Lee's fists, Neji's palm, and Tenten's ballistic cannonball. That was anticlimactic, Naruto shrugged. Sakura nodded as the dust settled and the inside of the cave became visible. A massive chain statue with a person on each finger except one. Glowing blue chakra dragons enveloping the cage, and all but 2 Akatsuki members were transparent. Itachi, Kasama, Konan, Yahiko, Deidara, Sasori, Zetsu, hidden, Kakuzu. No Madara. Is Sharingan activated? And apparently this is more than a normal illusion. It's still there to these eyes. Sakura exclaimed, that statue is just evil, or more accurately, alien. There are orange-yellow yokai draining into it from Gaara. Is it extracting his biju? But the statue also contains 2 other types, white and green, by the looks of it. Before Naruto could do anything else, the last of Gaara's yokai entered the statue and the half-real phantom vanished, leaving 2 of the criminal gang and a dead Gaara behind. Naruto dropped into his 2-tailed state with a whump of displaced air. Oh, you want the Kazekage? Deidara asked 3 times. Unfortunately, you'll have to catch it first. A clay bird erupted from the ground, engulfing Gaara and carrying Deidara out of the now open cave mouth, prompting Naruto to grimace and flee, with Sasuke following him and summoning hawks. Kakashi looked at Sasori for a moment, then apparently decided that his female student and the incredibly old Chiyo could handle him and took care of the others. Naruto, yelled Sasuke as he flew alongside Naruto's running form. Drop the cloak and hop on Hayabusa. Naruto let his cloak disperse and jumped aboard after seeing that Sasuke had summoned a bird large enough to carry them both after the flying Deidara. Sasuke was already firing sizzling bolts of lightning from his Raijin as the Peregrine summoned a tailwind and soared up into the sky. I can't just blow them up because the damn Jinchuriki's cloak is down and he's right next to the summoner. Leader made it clear that if I killed a container before extraction, he'd give me back to Iwa. Damn it. He made a deal with a shower of clay birds and bats before pulling out a scroll and dropping one of his C3 bombs off the side of his bird. Kakashi was racing along after the aerial dogfight when he noticed the bomb, which was easily recognizable from sand description. Nins begin to fall. Wincing in anticipation, he uncovered his Sharingan eye and focused. Kamui, a quarter of his chakra vanished in an instant to satisfy the demands of his voracious Mangekyo, which caught the falling bomb and sent it who knows where. A Chidori Senbon shower caught the clay bird's wings, neutralizing the earth chakra in its construction and sending it diving. Naruto created 2 clones who replaced themselves with the main body of the now inert construct, as well as several more who began tearing it apart in order to reach Gaara. With a curse, Deidara opened a scroll full of clay and began creating a new bird, determined to flee now that his pursuers were distracted. Meanwhile, Sakura focused her attention on the puppeteer in front of her, and it was clear to her that the true enemy was not the shell she could see, but another, tiny chakra source within. By lashing out with his poisoned tail, Sasori broke the seal. Still, Sasori, you have that problem of splitting your attention between attacking and watching what your opponent's chakra strings are doing, Chiyo said as he jumped back, an explosion a second later severing the tail halfway up the length. Sekira fired a comet-like fire, wind technique and scorched a line along the puppet's outer shell before turning to the old woman and saying, "Don't offer him tips. You hurt me by being disrespectful to your elders and superiors." This time, a water technique, dousing a storage scroll and destroying it before it could be opened controllably. I know someone at least 10 times your age who still appreciates criticism. Stop messing with it. Sekira reverted to her fire aspect and rode out a gush of napalm by using her innate fire resistance in that state, allowing the liquid to simply roll off her skin. Chiyo's chakra strings lashed out, grabbing a piece of the floor and hurling it at the Haruko puppet's face to stop a Senbin avalanche. I'm not sure why you keep making such simple mistakes when facing another puppeteer, grandson. The Senbin launcher was bent by the rock and rendered useless with a clang. Haruko's left arm shot out and began firing Senbin needles. Elder Chiyo, what is it with puppet users and Senbin? Sekira asked, erecting a gusty barrier in front of herself and her ally. Mainly ammunition issues. We never seem to remember how simple it is to store kunai in storage scrolls. Haruko charged forward, apparently to attempt a close combat attack, interrupting their conversation. Sekira looked around to see if there was any kind of Akatsuki spy still reporting on her movements, then formed a keening flame Rasengan and forced it into the puppet with a plasma backlash. Impressive. You destroyed my 18th puppet, Sasori said as he tumbled from the blazing wreck. I believe I'll kill you first. Shouldn't that be favorite? His opponent asked. Same difference, he said as he unsealed a puppet version of the third Kasegage and began to form the iron sand with it. How the hell does that even work? Sekira exclaimed. Controlling hidden mechanisms is one thing, but sand manipulation like that is an entirely mental art, according to Gaara. A stream of iron bullets began to shoot towards Sekira, who wrapped herself in a vortex of wind-boosted flame and was gratified to see that the fire could melt the bullets out of being sand, and apparently demagnetize them in the process. Sekira picked up one of the bullets that hit her and smelled something she couldn't quite identify, dashed behind a rock, and briefly dropped the flame vortex, switching aspects to re-enable her medical side. Elder Chiyo, a quick sniff confirmed. The sand contains poison. Well then, little miss, please sort it out, Chiyo said, shielding herself with a large slab of rock from the cavern floor. You may be Tsunade's protege, but you might be capable of handling something as simple as that. Sekira returned to true sight, took one of her prepared antidote jabs, and lunged forward from the rock in a precisely targeted body flicker, bringing up an armor of earth around herself and maintaining the medical aspect for some chakra scalpels. Sekira summoned 3 otters with one simple command, steal this, and a quick dance of scalpels severed all the chakra strings directing the third Kasegage. The Kasegage puppet vanished from the land of wind with a pop of displaced air. You already destroyed Haruko. Now you stole my 18th puppet, said Sasori irritably. You really need to get that speech impediment sorted out, Sekira said as she landed lightly. And how can you pick 2 puppets as your favorites? My favorite was Haruko. That was my 18th birthday. Oh, that's alright. Regardless, to show you the true reason I am an Akatsuki member, we need a little more space. He snapped his fingers, detonating explosives all over the cavern and bringing the roof down. Sekira emerged from the ground using the underground move technique, only to see Chiyo summon 10 puppets from a storage scroll to defend her. The avalanche had removed Sasori's cloak, revealing him in all his glory as a puppet. Wow, I've heard of body sculpting, but that really goes a little too far, Sekira snickered. Do you have to be concerned about termites? Enough. Take a look at my 100 puppet show. 143. What? Said Sasori, perplexed. I'm good at counting quickly. There are a total of 143 puppets present. Is it just me, or are all of them linked by chakra strings directly to that tiny bit of your chest that has actual living chakra? Chiyo asked Sekira, is he still alive? It was only the thing in his chest. Do you want to place a bet that it's his heart, forebrain, and life support system? That bothers even me, the elder said, turning a pale green. You will pay for exposing me, Sasori said as he fired a stream of ultra-high pressure water at Sekira. Thanks for the confirmation. Sekira flashed a V sign, then flinched away from the attack and began punching puppets. Big sword, sort of cleaver-shaped, must remember to find that for Tenten. That one has glasses, strange. Wait, those 2 have the Sharingan. How is that supposed to work? She punched both of them hard, completely destroying the mummified eyes. Chiyo noticed that the pink-haired girl was keeping herself in the air by recoiling throughout the battle, and that she was gradually pushing forward to reach Sasori. Girl's smart, too, she chuckled to herself, noting that one of her puppets had been destroyed by one of Sasori's. What that boy was thinking when he filled a puppet with napalm. So, I guess it worked in the end. Sekura used another summon technique while hidden in the blast of smoke from a 20th puppet. She was now noticing a gradual acceleration in the remaining puppets and decided to end it as soon as possible. She took a javelin from the otter she'd summoned, dismissed him once more, and threw it as hard as she could at Sasori. Old Chiyo, the fewer puppets he has, the more he can focus on them, she exclaimed as she descended. I see it, girl, the elder said, nodding. If he falls below 60, he'll be better than me. The javelin had come in at a startling speed, and even though Sasori had moved to avoid it, it still hit him in the leg and nailed him to the floor. It's done, Sekura yelled at him, summoning a flame Rasengan and ramming it into his torso, before replacing herself with a nearby puppet, and allowing the Rasengan to destabilize. To be thorough, Naruto's style was to ram a Rasengan into the opponent and expect it to work. Sekura, do you have any more of that antidote? Chiyo panted, stumbling as the effort of the intense battle caught up with her. During the battle, I drank a couple of senbon. Only one vial, but it should be enough. One of the puppets reactivated and fired an arrow into Sekura's thigh. That's not the core puppet. What? Oh no, Chiyo exclaimed. Sekura, his heart capsule broke free. Sekura turned, her medical aspect noting the poison already in her system, and hurled Sasori's original body at his new one, which was on fire. The heart capsule jumped bodies once more, but Sasori appeared unable to divide his attention sufficiently to regain control of additional puppets. I had hoped I wouldn't have to use these, the elder grumbled, taking a storage scroll and stamping on it, unsealing the mother and father puppets. Get out his old puppet bodies. Both of you go fire and wind. I'm splitting off my medic and water aspects from normal usage to concentrate on this damn poison, Sekura said as she formed Naruto's favorite hand seals and created 2 shadow clones. The drain left her gasping, but she could cope thanks to the way she'd overloaded the clones with chakra. The clones jumped away, concerned, to begin incinerating the remaining puppets. Sekura winced, creating a split between the aspects her shadow clones used and that her main body used was really hard, damn it, leaving her feeling like her soul was being pinched in half. But she had a massive dose of the poison and had to fix that. But Sasori's puppets weren't really destroyable from range short of fire wind attacks. She looked up after a few minutes of trying to stop the poison from leaving her femoral vein and pushing as much tainted blood to the wound as she could. The mother and father had impaled Sasori in a backup copy of his original body, and the majority of the landscape was on fire. Chiyo rushed over, leaving them in that tableau. Sekura, are you alright? This really hurts. I think I could normally make it, but I don't have enough chakra to fight the poison. When I made the clones, I had no idea how much there was. The elder then formed a set of chakra strings, rummaged through Sekura's supply pouch, found the antidote, and forcibly injected it into her, widening her eyes. Keep it. Sekura, I'm so old that I mistake people for their parents, whereas you have so much more time. Besides, the Kazekage is dead, and we need him. She cackled to herself, her tone slightly melancholy. Old Mad Chiyo, making the ultimate sacrifice. Oh well, at the very least, I won't have to let the poison kill me. Sekura sighed and struggled to her feet, saying, I don't have much stamina left. Busy, she exclaimed as she wrapped chakra strings around Sekura. Now I can help a young lady across the stream. Didn't you think it was going to be the other way around when you saw me? Any idea where those teammates of yours are? Chiyo asked, capturing another large puppet in her strings and animating it. Sekura sat back, exhausted, and opened her eyes to the world. It was easier now that most of her chakra had been expended, but she was getting a hazy feeling on the edges of her mind as her senses expanded, which wasn't good. Then she noticed Naruto's chakra's sun-bright blaze. North by east, 8 miles. Naruto and his male teammates stood solemnly over Gaara's body. After Team Guy failed to capture Deidara, Guy looked down at the boy. I am deeply saddened that someone so young has been taken from us. Lee nodded, tears running down his cheeks. We'd better take him back for burial, Naruto said as he reached down to pick up the Kazekage. Hey, don't do that yet, yelled a rasping voice. I haven't yet made my noble sacrifice. The ninja all spun around when they saw Chiyo approaching on a puppet, with Sekura sitting next to her. Sekura, you're fine. Somehow, she nodded weakly. Now, then, the elder said as she stepped down from her chariot. Because he's mostly intact, this should work. If I recall correctly, extracting a tailed beast is fatal because it rips the soul from the body. Apart from that, no real damage. Nope. She began making hand seals. What are you doing, Elder? Kakashi inquired, recognizing only a portion of what was going on but disliking it. It's a resurrection method. With my assistance, the Puppet Brigade invented it to restore life to humans made into puppets or to act as a healing technique. She placed her hands on Gaara, frowning at the pale blue glow. Line feeding more chakra into the technique, someone. You'll do fine, the other Jinchuriki. Anyway, it was labeled a forbidden technique because using it to resurrect resulted in death. The Puppet Brigade was once much larger. Sakura struggled to raise herself, unable to see. But why? Elder, why are you sacrificing your own life in this manner? I'm dying from Sasori's poison anyway. Aren't I? I might as well. Tenten grinned. We have about 10 more vials of the antidote spread across our team. Stop talking. Don't jeopardize my noble sacrifice. I think I could send an aspect into death to get Gaara's soul back, and then just recreate the Pinkette raised her hand. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. I wanted a noble sacrifice, and I got one. However, the rules are lax for me because I'm part. Right? I'm not going to have to listen to any more of this. Shio collapsed after ramming her last chakra into the technique. Gaara slowly sat up. What happened? She asked. The last thing I remember was making sure Suna didn't get blown up by a kiloton-sized clay bomb. And where did all these people come from? He wondered. Naruto shifted his gaze away from Gaara. Duh. The entire population of Suna was gathered in the meadow around them. But how? We're almost a fire country. His people adore the 5th Kazekage. And you, Sakura moved painfully. You should be in the hospital recovering from poison. Winced Kankuro. How about all the civilians? They insisted. Temari shrugged. Excuse me, but what happened while I was sleeping? Undead, muttered Naruto to himself. Basically, Akatsuki kidnapped you, stole your Biju, and killed you. But Team Kakashi, Team Guy, and Elder Chiyo were able to save your body, kill Sasori of the Red Sands, and the Elder resurrected you. So they have Shukaku, sucked the all-tanuki right out of you and into their weird-as-hell statue. Naruto nodded. We think. He crouched closer to Gaara and threw up a wind wall to keep eavesdroppers out. They're trying to put all the Biju back together to make the 10 tails. Gaara arched his brow, slashed his palm, and flipped through some hand seals. Shukaku materialized in the closest open area. Naruto stared for a moment before bursting out laughing. I think the events of the last minute are to be considered an S-rank secret. Kakashi signaled to Baki. I concur. We need to talk, Sasuke said as he approached his teammates. Oh, what is it about? Last year, I spent a month on the Iris of the Plains. We need to pool our knowledge of Akatsuki and that statue, as well as what our summons can tell us. I see the logic in that, Sakura said, nodding. After all, we know so little about the world beyond humanity. Where should we get together? I know, said Naruto, snapping his fingers. We can take advantage of the forest of confusion, or mystery, but that's mostly due to the fact that foxes are like that. Elaborate. Do you see anyone listening and who we haven't invited? Sasuke nodded. Fair enough, but I'd like to bring in one of my main contracted summons to share his perspective. Will the foxes be okay with that? I'll look into it. Mandia's. Afternoon, the old Arctic cricked his neck. What's going on? We need to talk about things that are almost as old as you. Can we make use of the forest? And will Sasuke be bringing a hawk? No worries. Your teammates are Aya and Oki for Sasuke, and Ni for Sakura, correct. Sakura added a yes to Sasuke's nod. Right, I'll have Lanny make the tea. We confirm that the public leader of Akatsuki does indeed possess the Rinnegan, though he does not resemble the person who Jiraiya of the Toads claims possessed it at the time. In fact, he resembles the boy who was the old Rinnegan bearer and Conan's teammate. They also extracted the Ikabai from his container using a large statue with 9 eyes and an open mouth. The extraction method was illusory dragons, who used their own chakra as a power source to drain the Yokai from the Jinchuriki. This killed the Jinchuriki by depleting their life force. You got all that from a 4-second look, said Sasuke and Naruto, impressed. I have good insight, and I was using my sight. In any case, the dragons themselves possess no chakra. That can't be right, can it? No, a slightly harsh voice replied. That appears to have been a soul-based attack. Sasuke had summoned the small hawk by name, and everyone present knew that he had to be more than he appeared due to the vast chakra cost of the summoning. In fact, it was on par with a boss summon. I'm not sure what I can add on that front, except to say that the last time I saw a soul-based attack was in the annals about the powers of the Sage of Six Paths himself. One of the 6 paths mentioned involves directly attacking the soul to gain knowledge of any being. Another can exact fatal penalties for lying, soul destruction, and the treasured tools, artifacts from that era, can attack the word soul. We can therefore conclude that the statue is either an artifact from the sage's time or was created using previously unknown knowledge. I should make it clear, the Sage of 6 Paths was on a level beyond anything you have experienced. Sage Initiate Tobias, Mandias said to the 3 Chunin. If one of your adversaries possesses the Rinnegan, they are extremely dangerous. Allow me to put it in context. None of you are completely human. Naruto's chakra, or essential being, is approximately 1% golden and 2% yokai. This is on the level of contamination normally, but it grants him the ability to shapeshift, regenerate, live a longer life, and potentially other superhuman chakra feats. The first 2 Uzumaki containers of Millie used their chakra to form solid, real-world objects, while the first Hokage, a distant relative of theirs, could use the wood release, in fact, could create life. Normally, mixing earth and water should produce something much more mundane, such as a facsimile of wood, sterile wood, or a more mobile form of earth. But, as the Great Forest of Fire Country demonstrates, he possesses the power to create true life. In the meantime, Sasuke has 1% black chakra. As with all Uchiha, this is entirely bound up in his eyes and allows him to break the normal rules of humanity in various ways. He can memorize things with ease, make deductive leaps in kinesthetic learning with only a fraction of the information needed, and predict the future in fractions of a second. He, like his brother, has the ability to unlock the Mangekyo, which can potentially create fire beyond normal fire, cause rips in space and time, form a solid object with chakra alone, the Susanoo, and attack the mind with a glance. I'm sure you get the idea. All of these abilities go beyond what ordinary humans are capable of. Sakura. Here's another example. Mandias said, turning to Sakura. Her divine heritage is not fixed, as yours is, but fluid, because both of her parents have the vestigial touch of a different deity. She has to shape it herself, but the results are already visible. Amazingly quick technique mastery, the ability to manifest contradictory powers, instinctive comprehension of written celestial, and an aspected soul. I had a strange experience, actually, Sakura said, raising her hand. Word sort of came to me after I broke Itachi's illusion. A single short line in another language, but I understood it. And now, some of the music I've been hearing in my head for a long time makes sense. Oh, how did this other language sound? Sung, beautiful, musical, as if every syllable held a universe of meaning. Do you remember it well enough to repeat it now? I'll do my best. Sakura closed her eyes and focused on that precise moment, listening for the verses in her soul, which she heard every few minutes. So, there, I am the god's heirloom. That, well, Mandias exclaimed. That was the spoken form of celestial, young lady. Wait a minute. Some of the words I understand are the same as those in later sections of that music. It's mostly pronouns, but it means I can figure out the cadence. There are 9 lines, 2 of which are shorter than the others. Soul area, Tobias said, clicking his beak. I agree, Mandias said, sighing heavily. Sakura, you've just begun down a path that few ever find. The path to discovering your true name. They're always in Celestial and appear at the end of a verse about your soul's truth. Your entire verse being in Celestial could be due to your ancestors. Do you think that's good or bad? Good. Excellent work. If someone else knows your true name and you don't, you're in big trouble. But if you know your own, oh, it's the foundation of so many things. Do you know yours? Grinned Naruto. Yes, my true name is Ozymandias. The word hung in the air, speaking of might and renown, of glory in all things, of remembrance and forgetting, of age dimming but never completely extinguishing a light. I remember the stories you told me last year. The Jinchuriki smiled. Several hundred years ago, you were a hero. Indeed, but we got off track. To emphasize a point, I mentioned Sakura's many abilities, including the first line of her soul area at such a young age. After 3 years of developing more and more aspects of her soul's divinity, her chakra is about 5% golden. This is truly remarkable, and I believe she will attain the rank of divinity before dying of old age. The Sage of 6 Paths was only about half human. After a brief moment of silence, Sasuke raised his voice. Did you say at the very least? Yes, exactly. The sage invented chakra use, was able to fight and defeat the 10 Tails, a beast twice as powerful as Millie, seal it into himself, and, on his deathbed, split it into fragments, endowed them with sentience, and created the moon to conceal the 10 Tails' body. The 3 simply sat there. Tobias let out a loud screech after about a minute. Naruto threw himself forward onto his nose. Oh, what was the point of that? Everyone had stopped responding. I thought it would be a good idea to see if you could still think. What's the deal with the chalkboard? We need to know what moves Akatsuki either do or could know we have. Naruto finished setting it up in the training ground. Those are the ones they'll be looking for, right? Gotcha, Sakura said, going to the board and noting her enhanced strength, medical skill, and a number of complex elemental techniques, including the flame Rasengan, before putting her aspects in the maybe column with the majority of the elemental techniques. And how about your summons? Oh, I forgot. I used them against Kasama and Sasori, but they were both very fast. They might not know. Nah, anyone who saw the Chunin exams will have seen it, she wrote in the will know section. Sasuke placed the flame Rasengan in the maybe area, reasoning that his fire affinity was well known, and Raijin accepted it. Naruto finished the analysis by including his shadow clones, wind Rasengan and blizzard versions, as well as his tailed state. Have you memorized it yet? Both nodded, and he promptly blew it up. We should figure out what their counters are. And now that we have Sakura's experience with an Akatsuki member, we can see how we can evaluate them. My assessment was that he wasn't quite as tough as Tsunade of the Sannin, and certainly not as tough as the Hokage. But it wouldn't take more than 3 people of that caliber to kill off a Sannin, she agreed. And, in comparison to Pain or Conan, Sasori was a minor member. I'd bet they could beat any of the Sannin, especially if Conan is a genuine S-rank criminal kunoichi. Even S-rank loyal kunoichi are hard to come by. Tsunade and Meiteru may have miscome to mind. The term criminal is relative. Rain-nin considers her to be an angel. Remember those genin from T, right? But what about Pain? Yeah, Jiraiya said they were still alive because they beat Hanzo the Salamander. For those who missed it, the Sannin earned their fame and title by surviving him. That'd be nice, Sasuke said, his face wistful. To be so powerful that simply surviving a battle with you is a source of pride. So, to the point, Deidara. His weakness is lightning, but he likes to keep people at a great distance. I think if Naruto and I tag team him, we might be able to get him. Naruto for the cannon fodder and because his tailed state can soak up a lot of the explosives, and me for the Raijin to keep him at bay. Good, that's one for which we have a concrete plan. I'll add that having a reverse summoner ready and waiting for the signal is a good idea in case he tries to mushroom cloud us again. Hidden. Sasori's dead. Don't give him your blood. I'm not sure. Naruto could handle things with his region, but I doubt it'd be very effective. I can't heal too much brain damage, but if I swarm him with as many two-tail clones as I can, I might take him out. They are not bleeding. How about the elements? And have you considered developing a more difficult form to shift to? According to the dossiers, he's just an offensive taijutsu master with a strange as hell weapon and a demonic contract. And it's a good idea, I'll look into it. Kakuzu. All I have to say is, ouch. Fighting him sounds a lot like fighting the Hokage, except that only a heart shot counts and he has 5 lives. His attacks could probably blow through several chakra tails. I propose we work on devising a method to force him to eat Rasen Shuriken. Or, at the very least, a lot of elemental Rasengan. Waterfall has some information on the nature of the Earth Grudge Fear tech he stole, Sakura said, holding up another scroll. It's disgusting. The threads basically mean he's not limited to one body, though each requires a heart, and that he can puppet anything. Is the earth and the name indicative of the element? Asked Sasuke. Don't believe it. His true nature was water. I believe it is simply a massively complex untyped technique. Threads, fire, unlikely to work. He has an earth spear. We need to remove his earth heart before anything short of a Rasengan can touch him. Right. I think he goes in the pour on the firepower and hope for the best camp, Naruto explained. Kisame, what about you? Chakra draining, water attacks, and so much chakra that he could probably replace a tailed beast. Even a mass electrocution attack might not work, but I believe if he is hit hard enough by a purely physical attack, he will succumb. How much chakra are we talking about here? It's more than you, Naruto. Several tails are involved. Though Mist claims his Samehada is a separate living being who could be persuaded to switch sides. Good luck with that. Kisama, a guy with gills, pointed teeth, and shark skin, a sword called Samehada, and sharks as summons. Talk about meant to be. That's an excellent point. Conan, in that order, negotiation, fire, water, and surrender. I once calculated how many explosive tags an S-rank ninja could make if they put 10% of their chakra into it every day. And, well, it has the potential to wipe Fire Country off the map. Point taken, Sakura grumbled. Pain. We know too little about the Rinnegan's abilities, though the gravity power appears to have a cooldown time. My best guess is massively layered ranged attacks. That's Naruto's solution to everything. It works, and damn it, I want an 18th birthday. Zetsu. In comparison to Zetsu, Pain's powers are an open book. I have no idea. That was strange. Hyuta vanished, Naruto said, clutching his arm. Keen, Cory, usual deal, Mandias wants to see me. He formed the summoning seals and slammed down his thumb. Hyuta, here you come. The pair vanished as the little pipe fox phased back into his skin. You are very prompt, Naruto. A letter from the crows arrived for you, and I believe it was a message from Itachi. There are 3 scrolls in there, 1 for each of you. Thanks, I guess I'm ready to return now. Naruto, this is the crow, and I'm writing to warn you that the last member of Akatsuki has joined their ranks, replacing Sasori. More on this in Sasuke's letter as it concerns him, but be cautious. Now that the 3-tailed beasts have been captured and the 3 tails has finally reformed, Akatsuki are stepping up their efforts, and you are the last target on the list. Furthermore, the false person technique you encountered was created by Pain, but he received no feedback on techniques used to counter it, so your teammate's secret is safe. Sakura, your aspects are still unknown to the rest of the Akatsuki, but your summons are known. Zetsu was using a phasing technique to observe your fight with Sasori, and since Kasama calls sharks, it seems prudent to warn them of the danger they may pose. Sasuke, Tobai, a silly-looking orange-masked man, has just joined Akatsuki as a temp, and he is the single most dangerous person in the entire world. Do not engage him, do not chase him down, and do not even tell him you know who he is until you have fulfilled all of the following criteria. They fought me and killed me. My eyes have been taken. A counter to a Mangekyo-based intangibility technique and a Mangekyo-based space-time teleportation capture technique have been developed. This is due to Tobai's identity as Uchiha Madara. He's wearing a different mask, but it's him, and I can't emphasize how dangerous this man is. Here's someone who annoys an S-rank missing ninja with a known hair trigger and whose entire moveset is lethal explosives, because Deidara can't hope to hurt him. Finally, visit Nanako Shrine on a regular basis. The lore there may be useful, but keep in mind that much of it is just speculation. I'm going to kill him, Sasuke said, crumpling the letter in his fist. Okay, Naruto and Sakura exchanged glances. How about devising a way to avoid dying before you have the chance? Fine. However, this is a concession. So, perky Sakura asked, how do we beat someone who can go intangible? Attack by surprise. Is this the shrine mentioned by Itachi? Yes, Sasuke replied, lighting some lamps with an E-rank fire technique. It contains the Uchiha clan's hidden lore, with the tablet at the core such that only a Uchiha's Sharingan can read it. Really, you might want to involve Kakashi in this, then, and see what his Mangekyo gets, Sakura said, frowning. That doesn't look right. Naruto. Anything. Yeah, something's off. Wait a sec, the boy said, staring at the tablet. Normal eyes cannot see this, and we've all got extra options. He entered Jinchuriki's first stage, just enough to make his eyes turn red, and ran his finger over the tablet. Yep, the 10 tails is made up of the 9 Biju, and its recombination means the near certain destruction of the world's order, says the author. That's not what that bit says to me, Sasuke blinked. It just says something about the blood-red path and abandon all bonds of kinship to me. The rest is unreadable. I believe it contains instructions for obtaining the Mangekyo. Nice, Sakura said as she prepared to activate True Sight. Context-sensitive seals or something. Her vision briefly went into heightened perception, and she winced. Oh, I believe I received all possible messages at once. I'm not sure why, but one was clearer than the others and I could read it. It mentioned the Bishaman line. Message has changed for me now, Naruto said, swapping Yaokai for Sage Chakra. One must not kill their heart in order to become in tune with the world. And something about a prophecy child. Naruto, if you turn out to be the Messiah, I will be very annoyed, Sasuke said to his 2 teammates. I'll do the same. Martyrdom is part of the job description, Naruto responded. Instructions on how to gain the Mangekyo. Congratulations on gaining the Mangekyo. You have a limited free trial before you have to take your brother's eyes. Thank you for upgrading to the full version. Though it mentions Kamui on here, Kakashi squinted. That would have saved me a significant amount of time. It explains the power of your Mangekyo, said Sasuke. By name, yes. And there's another one that's legible, too. Kakashi took a closer look. Who or what the hell is a Shiranui? For a split second, white fire washed over Kakashi, leaving him looking absolutely perfect. His scar across his replaced eye was gone. His skin was free of the innumerable minor wounds that any shinobi picked up, and his Sharingan flickered for a split second before deactivating, leaving a black eye in its place. He then collapsed with a thud. Neat, Sasuke said. Complete healing, though I assume the fact that your transplanted eye is still black means it perfected the transplant. Not again. Oh, please calm down. At the very least, you can now turn off your Sharingan. Ino, Sekira's voice drew Team Asuma's attention. Hello, Sekira, what is it? Early birthday present, Sekira exclaimed, handing over a scroll. The last guy I fought used a lot of puppets, and this one's a puppet of the third Kazekage, complete with his ability to control iron sand. So, Ino's eyes glowed. Thank you so much, Sekira, this is brilliant. Shikamaru frowned in thought. Iron sand, as in, mutable opaque solid. I like the sound of that. If I catch someone in my shadow possession, Ino could simply crush them in an iron coffin. Not to mention how the sand itself could cast a shadow. Sekira shared his scowl. How come the Nara clan doesn't just use Kusarigama? Shika froze and stared into space. How come none of us thought of that? Let the thunder god announce the arrival of the storm. Excuse me, Sekira. Sekira raised her head. I just finished tracing the root seal of the entire array. Everything else is descriptions of how. Amazing stuff. The reason for that little yellow flash is that the seals convert all the crazy radiation involved with light barrier breaking, space-time teleportation into that part of the visible spectrum. But the root of the entire array is an intense statement. I'll ask Mandias, who is the most knowledgeable about Celestial. Your next mission is to investigate Orochimaru's bases in Rice Fields country. Why bother going after Orochimaru? He's still a few months away from his next body transfer, assuming he'll switch again rather than keep the prepared body with the dead bone pulse. If he has anything, it's time. I doubt he's making many plans now. Alright, fair enough, but we still have to treat an S-rank missing nin as a legitimate threat, even if we do have about 9 others to deal with. Naruto exhaled a sigh. Whatever, let's at least level one of his bases. Team 7 stood atop a massif in the paradoxically arid rice country, surveying the landscape. Any ideas on how we can find a hidden village here? Naruto smirked. Is there a coastline in this country? Yes, to the north, but why? Naruto shook his head. I was just thinking that if I were to make a hidden village of sound, I'd play up the music in sonic attack angle, then make it under an ocean inlet, that is, a sound. The pun made Kakashi cringe. That's frighteningly possible, but we should take a look around here anyway. Sekira activated her true sight as Sasuke's Sharingan flashed to life. Sasuke pointed after scanning the area for several seconds. There, the ground doesn't match the rest of the area, so I'd say it's a hidden base. We'll check, Kakashi said before activating his own Sharingan. I see what you mean now. This place is amazing, Sekira exclaimed as she browsed the base's small but varied library. Except for some nasty ceiling arrays, it had been effectively abandoned, but Sekira had deduced their meaning and fed their chakra-draining properties back on themselves. That's a good thing, because they appeared to be designed to absorb until they had more than the target, and then blow up. They'd just be stuck in a logic loop forever. Sasuke shrugged, his gaze fixed on a scroll. This appears to be the origin of the curse seals. It's a record of all the prototypes used to try to figure out what works. Sekira took a look at it. Wait, it's that easy. All of his failed seals were grammatically incorrect. You know, not all of us can speak Celestial. Sekira stuck out her tongue. I'll have you know I read it, and not very well. Does mean I have the last pieces of the puzzle, though. The first stanza always escaped me when I was looking at Anko's, and I didn't know it was in Zimic. I should be able to remove it within a day or two. Definitely keep that scroll for now. This is how he does the weird sword trick. This must be from the Sage's time. I haven't seen anything younger that elegant and audacious except Naruto's father's kunai. Sasuke appeared to be interested. How does it feel? It appears to be at least partially conceptual, and revolves around bridging the gap between illusions and reality. He keeps the Kusanagi in his mindscape, which, as I recall, is also an artifact from the Sage's time. Sometimes I forget what cage level ninja means until I hear something like this. It's one thing to know that the Hokage knows every technique that isn't of a clan or bloodline, and quite another to realize that this means he has the perfect response to any situation. Tell me about it. I once asked Lady Tsunade what the seal on her forehead was, and it's a chakra storage seal that can be triggered to refill her reserves to overflowing twice over, and regenerate her until it's discharged. All that, Sekira said before sealing the scroll in one of her own seals. Is there anything else worth keeping? This artificial bloodline treatise, and that's about it. Got the demo tag. Sekira took a paper square a foot across from her bag and unfolded it to full size. Yep, this thing is going to level the base if anything else does. Would you bring Naruto in here to charge it and start the countdown? Naruto, Sekira exclaimed as they dashed for it. What? You said charge it with a lot of chakra. Did you forget I work on a different scale than normal ninja? Naruto exclaimed, panting in the middle of an impressive sprint. You put a chakra tail in a demolition's explosive tag. And because you only set the timer for 5 minutes, we're going to have a hard time getting far enough away in time. Right? Good point. Hold on. Naruto summoned Ikamaru while forming seals on the run. Go south and call me in a few minutes. Everyone else, hang on to me. Sakura nodded in agreement. How quick is Ikamaru? No one knows, and some say that knowing would ruin the magic. Orochimaru smirked. Was that an earthquake, Kabuto? I didn't feel anything, Lord, but I think I figured out how to make a version of the curse seal that allows Jugo to display the rocket effect on occasion. Alright, sign a dozen unimportant test subjects out of the base stores and give it a shot, Orochimaru said as he stood up from his desk. I'm off to see if I can make any more new bloodlines. I'm sure there's something I could do with the lungs. Naruto, please wait a moment. When the third was obliquely dismissed, the rest of Team 7 left. Naruto smirked. What exactly is it, old man? Naruto, said the third Hokage, who was unusually serious for him. You probably didn't hear this, but before he attacked me, Orochimaru pretended to be the Kazekage and asked me when I planned to retire. Naruto frowned, not seeing where this was going. I replied that I would wait at least 5 years. 3 of those years have passed, and I haven't changed my mind. I will leave my post, hopefully permanently, in 2 years. He exhaled a sigh. None of the village's high-ranking ninja were the right choice. A Kage has to be immensely powerful, wise, kind, and someone who never lets themselves be discouraged. Tsunade lost herself in drink and gambling. Jiraiya, well, you know my students' habits, and Kakashi wasn't reliable enough. But, to get to the point, Naruto, I made this decision a long time ago, and nothing I've seen since has changed my mind. Make it through the next 2 years, and the hat is yours. Sarutobi smiled at Naruto's stunned expression. Oh, and your team is all being promoted to Special Jonin. You all deserve it. And from now on, I'm going to assign you to Akatsuki-related business. 2 of you have special interests, and Sakura can keep you all healthy. Anko. What? Sakura wished her a happy birthday and handed her a piece of paper. But it isn't my birthday, Chunin. Sakura smiled. Actually, Special Jonin, the promotion arrived an hour ago. Consider it an early present. She focused chakra for a second, and the seal array in the paper came to life. Allow the subject to be consumed by doubt, tormented by pain, compelled to dream of darkness, and forced to submit to the snake summoner Orochimaru. Her inner darkness overshadowed the light. Power washed over her body as she surrendered to her deepest fears and desires. Let the gates of power open and flood this form with strength in response to the call to submission. 4 for the first, 3 for the second, and the second must be serpentine and consumed by the desire for power, battle, and the snake summoner Orochimaru. The entire curse seal unfurled on Anko's neck in seconds, followed by the characters of Sakura's newly constructed array lashing out across her body to match. Allow the subject's will to stand as proof of the other seal's failure. She has resisted the temptation to remove a clause every year. Let the effects of every time she ignored the whispers be reversed. Her entire relationship with the snake summoner Orochimaru has been rendered null and void. The tainted enzymes that fill her have been neutralized, and the gates of her body are only open at her command. The 2 seals collided for a split second before imploding with a flicker of motion and leaving nothing behind. What did you just do? Anko asked shakily, her equilibrium thrown off, as if something she'd been pushing against for years had just vanished. Sakura displayed a mirror. Last raid, we discovered how the curse seal works, and I was able to design a counter to yours. It relied heavily on the free will clause, so I'm not sure if it would have worked had you ever used the thing. The only disadvantage is that I believe it may have severed your summon contract. Anko clenched her teeth. This would shape much of the rest of her life. If she got the snakes again, she'd be able to use many of the techniques she'd developed over the years, but she'd also have a new connection to Orochimaru. She wasn't sure how she'd react if she got something else. She concentrated her chakra and performed the hand seals. Summoning. Anko Mitarashi mysteriously vanished from training ground 44. She pushed herself up from the ground, which was hard-packed and dusty, and looked out at the vast range of hills ahead of her. Okay, where the hell am I? I know this isn't the snake place. Indeed not, Anko replied. The 8-foot mustelid behind her looked at her with calm. Good afternoon, my name is Belisarius of the Mongoose, and this is Valentinian, my assistant. The smaller mongoose he pointed to bore an expression of focused lethality. For a brief moment, Belisarius stroked a gem tied around his neck. What in the world is a human doing in our traps? Anko blinked, then clenched her fists and punched it in the air. Yes. Sakura blinked as she finished her current project. Can you bring the Raijin over here, Sasuke? Sure, but for what? She took the Hurricane kunai from the center of a complex seal array that folded down to a simple 2-foot wide circle. I built an array with everything I know about Celestial to decompress seals in an artifact to see if I missed anything. I think Storm in the Tri-Prong kunai is a true name. But anyway, it made a decompacted array that was fractally complex, and I wanted to compare it with the Raijin. Sasuke shrugged and centered the unassuming hilt in the circle. The array trembled, then exploded outwards to form a thick circle of horrifyingly complex seals. Kinket looked at it for a second. Yeah, the two are roughly equal in complexity, which is pretty amazing considering the Raijin is a nearly indestructible weapon. And the only other things I've ever seen this detailed are the climate monoliths in spring, the Biju sealing array Akatsuki have, and that fan Yujito Nai was using in the border incident with Oto Ninja last year. Sasuke shuddered as he remembered the devastation she'd inflicted. The fan was a weapon once wielded by the Sage of Six Paths, and the young Jonin had used it to bathe a strike team of sound ninja with all 5 basic elements at once in order to overwhelm the cursed seal ninja among the group. Team 7 had assisted in tracking the group at the time, but Yujito could clearly have completed the mission on her own. Their presence was merely a diplomatic nod to Konoha. Wait, some of those date back to the sage himself. Are you saying my main weapon is as well? It's possible, though the special kunai aren't that old. The 4th appears to have been a genius of the highest order. She pursed her lips. The more I research, the more convinced I am that the sage did not use chakra in the same way we do. Sasuke smirked. Think about it, the 3 great Dijutsu all stem from him in some way, and all of them use chakra to do things we'd normally call impossible. For starters, the Byakugan grants total perception of space-time in an area, and the Sharingan allows you to precisely copy express chakra flows and movements after seeing them once, from the outside. It's all instinctual. Exactly, Sakura exclaimed, gesticulating. And most high-impact jutsu were invented in the last couple hundred years. Things like the Chidori or the Rasengan or oh, there's so many examples. But the sage is described as beating the 10 tails. You've seen Naruto in his 2nd stage transformation 4 tails, last spar. And do you really think anyone, no matter how strong, could beat something 64 times as powerful as that with only a few years? What? Sasuke, what if your chakra control was perfect? I mean, completely perfect. No hand seals, no vocalization, no practice required. You didn't even have to consciously control it. It just did what you wanted. It will manifest it in the real world. The Uchiha finally got it and fell silent for a split second. It's a fantastic opportunity. Yeah, Jiraiya showed up unexpectedly in the Team 7 training area. Do you still have that Sage Mode issue, Naruto? Naruto gave a nod. I just find it difficult to hold on to when I move. Strange, tell me how you trained. The newly minted Special Jonin shook his head. You know, the old fox instructed me and used a staff they stole from the toads to stop my transformations from going wrong. No, I mean what was your catalyst, like toad oil, which helps you draw in nature chakra. Draw it in. Not at all, in fact. Naruto created a shadow clone devoid of seals, which promptly bashed its head against a rock. Stupid. I just realized what I was doing wrong. I was fusing my chakra with the nature chakra, not the other way around. Jiraiya took a few moments to stare into space. A single critical flaw in your execution, resulting in an utterly different style. Yep, that's you all right. His eyes gradually turned gold, and his face warped with the effect of his own sage mode. Would you like me to bring Fukasaku here for some remedial work? Go ahead. He and Mandias can double-team me on remedial sageness. Naruto's eyes flashed yellow for a split second before he materialized Mandias. I have a problem. Old man, my sage mode was base backwards. Mandias jerked his head. I don't have the staff with me. Please give me a few minutes to get it. No, your toad equivalent is about to appear. He replaced the one you stole. Sakura came over when she noticed Naruto and Jiraiya doing something interesting. Oh, Lord Jiraiya, I was going to ask, did Minato have a? She trailed off as a thought occurred to her. Can I look at the toad scroll? Sure, Jiraiya said, adding the toad scroll keeper to his summon technique and unrolling it as the 2 animal sages began to beat Naruto up and down the training field. Why do you want to compare it to your own? No, Sakura exhaled, her gaze fixed on the scroll. The penultimate signatory remained, as she had hoped. The fragment in Naruto's seal hadn't left this plane of existence, so he hadn't died completely. The scroll was signed Arashi, not Minato Namikaze. Storm, a real name. Naruto's father had figured out his true name and built a seal structure around it. How old was he when he signed the scroll? She wondered as she traced his name with her fingers. It spoke of hushed rumbling, of strength hidden behind an unassuming facade, and at the same time, it spoke of a thunderstorm's unbridled fury, as it should be for a man who single-handedly wiped out an army. Well, he was about 20. No, less than that. He was a teenager, not very old. "Oh, Naruto," she mumbled. "Your parents never cease to amaze me. Lord Jiraiya is a real name, and I believe I understand how the Hiraishin works." "Oh, arg, you guys, stop. Now, Naruto," Mandias chuckled. "You're not used to using Sage Mode in hand-to-hand combat, so you'll have to learn. You threw me through a rock. That's cruel and unusual." "No, my boy," Fukasaku said. "This is the section." Naruto's hands came up in a block, and the 50-ton boulder thrown at him cracked in half. "Good. You're getting used to the effects of your activated body," Mandias said cheerfully. He then nipped his paw and scattered the blood, creating 3 copies of himself. "Blood clones will only succumb to a fatal hit. Your goal is to defeat them." Fukasaku leant over to Mandias as the 2 sages watched Naruto unleash a ranked wind techniques in a constant stream impossible for anyone with less than cage-level chakra reserves. A clone of blood. It took me 20 years to make that one work. Their disadvantage is that each one deducts your maximum chakra reserves plus about an S-rank drain to make each one. That 3 there is about half my limit with the technique, and more than 4 and they become much less useful. Mandias grimaced. "One down already." He pasted it with a Rasengan the size of a house. "Gotta keep an eye out for." "No, that was number 2. Fukasaku cast a glance at the tearing wind apocalypse that had destroyed one of the blood clones. "Which one was it?" Approximately 20% of his chakra reserves dumped into the environment as pure wind chakra from a shadow clone. He's certainly good at high-impact attacks. Then there was a bell-like screech. Mandias and his clone both kept a wary eye on the Rasen Shuriken as it formed. "All right, that's a close-in attack, so." He then threw it. Mandia's clone escaped in time, but discovered the hard way that the Sage Chakra holding the thing together was still under Naruto's control. It exploded, leaving a 100-foot crater in the ground and disintegrating the blood clone. Jiraiya, Sakura, Kakashi, Sasuke, Fukasaku, and Mandias all grimaced at the same time. "He can now throw that thing." "Holy crap, Naruto," Sakura exclaimed. "How are we going to rank that?" Naruto shrugged, panting heavily as his Sage Mode was cancelled. "Does the SS have a rank?" "Well, we'll have to bloody well invent one, won't we?" Jiraiya said as he regained consciousness. Rasengan was a rank. The elemental forms and Great Ball form were both S if they weren't already. The Rasen Shuriken's high S as it basically kills every cell of the target. "I'm sorry for that missing nin you beamed with it last year, by the way. And since it can now be thrown and is apparently even more powerful, if that thing's used you can write off anyone in a 50-yard radius of the line of travel." The Hokage fell out of his chair in his office. Detonation on command. For that beast. The old man then began to consider what countermeasures he could employ against Naruto. A kind of mental war games, and came up a little short. What about elemental techniques? Fire would be the obvious solution, but with an attack that fast and dense, it would simply mean that instead of an enormous wind attack heading towards me at breakneck speed, it would also be on fire. Wind manipulation is a possibility, but Naruto's chakra is powerful enough to overwhelm most wind users. Lightning? No way. Water might work, but with Sage and Jinchuriki modes and an earth element to boot, he's pretty well defended. And the Earth herself? That's a tricky one. Summons. Enma's staff form is made of a supposedly indestructible material, but I don't want to put it to the test. And the majority of the rest are finesse players rather than power players, though a couple of them may have a few tricks up their sleeves. Non-elemental attacks are a big unknown, and I'm not sure how Sage Mode works well enough, but it does grant sensor abilities. Naruto made a clapping motion with his hands. "All right, that was nice, now what?" Fukasaku gave himself a nod. "I understand. You need to learn frog-style taijutsu for Sage Mode. Your fox style is fine for Jinchuriki forms, but..." The youngster frowned. Sage Chakra is so powerful because it combines 3 types of energy at once rather than 2, right? Yes, because they're orthogonal to each other. Naruto kept worrying about his thought. Is Yaokai orthogonal to both bits of normal chakra? I believe that's how the beast ball attack works. ... It is, both sages said, sinking their teeth. The one who predicted Naruto would break the rules. What if I invented some kind of demonic Sage Mode? Mandias suffocated. You said the Sage of 6 Paths was a sage. Could he have tried it? We'll talk about it later, Frog Kata, Fukasaku insisted. In concept, they're similar to the fox style of long-range ambush, except they emphasize movement over concealment and a single devastating strike. The wise old man took a stand. Horned Toad, Form 1. Then he punched Naruto across the practice field. See, your mistake was that you didn't dodge. Get used to it. Naruto dug himself out of a hillside. Oh, well, let's keep going. Way to go, dodge. As Danzo shuffled some reports, the Hokage watched through his crystal ball. Oh no. Danzo turned to face his old friend. Are you having trouble with Team 7 again? Yes, Naruto is being trained to use close combat in the manner of a sage, just as Jiraiya did. The elderly man nodded. Oh, that was the time he learned to take a punch that would knock him across the field. Exactly. Naruto is being thrown through rock formations. I believe we'll need another C ranker for Earth Element Chunin to repair the damage. What? Another one? It's only been a week since the last. Nonetheless, the Hokage winced once more. It had to hurt, but I suppose Naruto deserved it after what he did to the blood clones. It was fascinating to see the entirety of Konoha laid out below. It was even more fascinating to feel the faint tingle as the barrier detection jutsu across the entire village registered him leaving at about 20 miles per hour, then returning at the same speed 2 seconds later. This brings up another point. He was heading for the ground, and since he'd left it at half the speed of sound, hitting wouldn't be much fun. Naruto tallied up his sage reserves. There's about 20% left, 1 minute. That should suffice. Wham! Everyone grimaced. Ouch. Mandias walked over. Do you require assistance? Throw me a rope. I'm very far down. So, why don't you do the underground move? Sakura inquired. My left hand has become encased in solid rock. Wow, Sage Mode definitely makes you more durable. So, it's a series of grave robberies from Fire Country monasteries. Is there any reason they're sending us to handle it? Naruto inquired. Kakashi shook his head. As far as I know, they hope that sending such a well-known and powerful team will demonstrate the value Konoha places on monastic friendship. And Sakura and Sasuke are both very good at forensics. Team Kurenai is equally adept at forensics, and Asuma was once one of the 12, why not them? Perhaps Asuma requested that he not be assigned. It caused a schism between them in the past, you know. Alright then, I suppose I could use a break from being thrown at large lumps of rock or sparring with the old toad. The boy stretched, getting the cricks out of his spine. It's a shame that whole merger thing doesn't work for me. Being able to be in Sage Mode all the time would be a huge boost. I'll just have to settle for grabbing a few seconds every 5 or 6 minutes to recharge. Hopefully. Naruto nearly fell, but caught himself by staggering forward a few paces. Well, I believe I discovered one of the graves. Sasuke snapped his fingers, causing a light to appear in his palm. I think you're right, it looks new. Out of nowhere, a wind element blade slashed towards them, and Naruto grabbed his hand. Get back, guys. Naruto blocked it with a blue stream of light, and he began a swirling melee with the attacker. Sakura's eyes blinked. How did Naruto create a wind chakra blade with just his finger? He's now producing them from all of his fingers and thumbs, Sasuke observed. Impressive. Sora, stop, yelled someone. Naruto's attacker disengaged, and he followed suit, deactivating his chakra blades and unhappily inspecting his hands. This always hurts like hell, and regeneration can only do so much. Sora, what was that all about? Asked an elderly monk as he entered the circle of light Sasuke was creating. I told you that Konoha was sending help, and not a day later I find you attacking a member of Konoha's 4 seasons. Naruto approached his teammates, his hands clasped together to stop the bleeding. Are there 4 seasons? Sakura gave a nod. I heard about it yesterday from Anko. She captured a bingo book on a recent sortie. We're known to be back together as a team. And since we're with Sai, they've given us the nickname 4 seasons. I'm spring, you're summer, Sasuke's autumn, and Sai's winter. Naruto nodded in agreement. I get that you're spring, and I guess summer makes sense with my hair and eyes, and I get that Sai's winter because of the whole emotionless facade thing. But autumn? Sasuke grinned. Autumn brings thunderstorms, and we all have our own names. Don't tell me you didn't get a peek at someone else's bingo book during your training trip. Naruto shook his head. Not much of a chance, really, because I didn't have the time between all those high-powered attacks and working on Jinchuriki states. Well, and called the Thunderhawk. Nice name, works well for me. Sakura's just called, well, Sakura. Must be that symbolism thing. Sai's the blackbird, which makes sense, and you're called Fuma, Demon Wind. I like it, but I swear nobody saw the Rasen Shuriken, which is the ultimate Fuma Shuriken. I only ever used it on solo missing nin like the Land of the Sea incident. Sakura shook her head. Jinchuriki, strong wind element, the factors are already all there, talk about an apt nickname. And now that you appear to be generating wind element claws, it's just a single chakra blade smashed into about 50 pieces and shoved under the skin all over my body like hidden weapons, you know. And it only takes a tiny bit of chakra blade to make a very long wind blade. The monk and Sora had apparently reached an agreement. Sora approached Naruto and briefly prostrated himself before him. Please accept my apologies for my hasty actions. Master Ninja, will you accompany us to the temple? Yeah, sure, Naruto said, looking around. What happened to Yamato and Kakashi? Sasuke smirked once more. I tricked him 2 hours ago into saying Shiranui, and Yamato had to carry him back to the hospital. Turns out you can go straight from inactive eye to Mangekyo technique. Sai smirked. So it's normal for people to try to trick other people into going to the hospital. Sakura shook her head. For Sasuke, it is, and since he's technically getting Kakashi to practice, it's probably justified. Shiranui could be a tremendously useful technique. It appears to have the same chakra cost for healing any injury. Because of the nature of his power, Sora was isolated as a child. Sakura activated her true sight before Kairoku had even finished speaking. What the hell, Naruto? This guy has Millie's chakra. Naruto's pupils turned yellow. Old man, I've got a problem for you. Mandias blinked as the smoke from his summoning cleared. What now? Didn't I just see you this morning? His summoner indicated. How does this kid have red Yaokai in him? The Arctic fox smirked. Red specifically. If it was another color, it could just be some of the 10 tails spare chakra. Excuse me, boy, mind if I take a small sample of your blood? It would help me figure out what's going on. Sora was getting dizzy from how quickly things were moving. Okay, I guess, he said as he handed Mandias a bloody chakra blade, which he licked and grimaced at. 4 tails. That's ludicrously much chakra to have leaked out of Millie, but there's no real alternative explanation. Okay, because Yaokai is so dense, small amounts of it can linger for a long time. It could be that there was some left over from either the Valley of the End battle or, more likely, given his age, the attack 15 years ago. In that case, the Yaokai could have been gathered up and sealed into him. I'm sorry, the elderly monk said, but am I missing something? Sasuke's Sharingan caught fire. I'll take the Earth user in an ambush. Sakura gave a nod. And talking about the redhead, Naruto didn't say anything, simply charging the white-haired male ninja. As the rest of his team vanished towards 3 of the attackers, Sai blinked. It appears I'm stuck with the weak one. His adversary laughed. That arrogance will be your undoing, Konoha ninja, she exclaimed, pulling a scroll from storage and starting to annotate it. You will be unable to fight because of the number of traps that will surround you, and... From above her, Sai dropped a pride of ink lions. Failure to pay attention to the bingo book is a major mistake. My nickname, Blackbird, indicates that I can create birds, which means I can fly. Fuan dove underground and emerged with a handful of earth, which she shaped into 3 staffs. Shut up. She was on a pillar rising into the sky after a quick splash of ink. I'll be able to continue. On her map, an ink fly exploded, turning it completely black. Sai had the uneasy feeling of facepalming. And I thought you were the wise one, because you clearly aren't on the team because of your chakra levels, or your looks. She threw her staffs at Sai, hitting his bird with 2 of them and dispelling it. You're not so cocky now, Brett. Yes, a voice from behind her said. She began, but Sai pressed too hard for her to break free. I take it you've heard of clones. Because that was a clone you shot down, you're not very observant. She used her staff to block his first Tanto strikes. Shut the F up. Sai's Tanto twisted in an impossible pattern and caught her across the shoulder, the brush in his other hand leaving an ink trail along the staff that turned into a swarm of bees. You no longer have the ability to form hand seals because your tendons in your shoulder have been destroyed. Unfortunately for you, Root Ninja specialized in crippling strikes. How did you do that with the sword? She exclaimed, clutching her injured shoulder and keeping a close eye on the bees buzzing around her. I am a water element, so I can use my element to handle weapons better. Sai sliced her map in half, causing the terrain to revert. This was also poorly executed, as you failed to include the relatively simple step of permanently altering the terrain. Sasuke's red eyes rolled. Earth? You have no other elemental affinity besides Earth. How did you become a high-ranking ninja? Fudo used a pair of high-ranking Earth techniques to distort the ground around Sasuke, hoping to give himself a chance to crush the annoying Konoha ninja. Sasuke dodged once more, spun, and unleashed a hail of Chidori Shuriken from both hands. Oh, Fudo gripped his arm for a split second. That damn Senbin went right through the rock. Did you use lightning chakra on all of them? Shaking his head, Sasuke said. Try once more. Oh, I will, Fudo said as he slammed his hands into the ground, causing a swarm of zombies to emerge. Shudder in terror before an army of the undead. Still Earth element. Oh, dear, your group isn't very good at gathering intelligence on their enemies, is it? Sasuke drew and spun the Raijin. Over edge. With a crackle, the sword's blade expanded from its previous katana style to become essentially a broadsword. Because only the hilt was heavy, Sasuke held it in one hand while forming a Chidori spear in the other. I'm one of the 4 or 5 best ninja in Konoha at the lightning element, and I have a legendary lightning sword. Oh, and my sensei also uses lightning. And my name in the bingo book mentions this, and it also mentions that I have flying summons, but since these things, it tipped over, they're so pitiful that I don't really need them. They'll still wear you down enough for me to get you. Fudo yelled from behind cover. Attack. Sakura and Fuka exchanged medium-ranked elemental jutsu, the attacks flashing back and forth in bursts. Fuka smirked. How do you do it? No one has that many affinities. How do you know I haven't simply trained all of my elements? You keep doing things without the conversion seal, Fuka said as she opened her scroll and transformed into a fire element body. But whatever you have has disadvantages. A shower of fireballs shot forward. Sakura smashed her fist into the ground, resulting in broken terrain and a wash of water, which she animated into a swirling watery shield. No, I don't think so. You've got a really bad little kenjutsu there. Orochimaru's is better. How dare you? Fuka's scroll flashed once more, and she fired earth spears. I've lived 100 years, he can't make that claim. Your weak point is your hair, Sakura said as she launched an air-boosted flame bolt at her opponent. Oh, and his technique allows him to layer affinities and so on rather than having separate bodies for each one. Fuka growled, her appearance slipping and becoming more old, also bestial. When Sakura heard the question, she felt something well up inside her. Inside is my way, she said quietly, feeling the celestial syllables reverberate in the air. She then replaced Fuka's earth body with a water one, rammed a marbled water racing into the scroll to shred it, and snipped off most of Fuka's hair with a blade of wind. And there goes her chakra, who has their weak point as their hair. She frowned. Nice pedal dance attack, though I might try that. Sorry, is this supposed to be difficult? Naruto asked, watching as his horde of Sage Mode shadow clones pounced on Kazuma. Sure, he only had a few minutes of Sage Mode if he didn't detail a clone to recharge his power, but he preferred the option of having hundreds of superpowered ninja all around him. Boss? One of the clones inquired. I think he's sort of dead. We forgot to pull our punches. Not used to them breaking rock. Meh. He tried to ambush us, and he got what he deserved. Ooh, chakra metal claws. 2817, muttered Sasuke as he speared the last of the zombies in the heart and shut down the earth chakra of the animation technique. Am I supposed to be worn down yet? I know I can use the first gate. Fudo exploded from the cover and zap. Sasuke spun the Raijin, lengthening it and cutting through his opponent's earth element armor. Are you serious? Earth elemental armor means nothing to someone wielding a legendary lightning element sword? He paused. No. Good, I hit something important. Sasuke turned off his Raijin. Let's see. At the very least, I left the body reasonably intact. A rogue member of the 12 should be good for a fairly sizable bounty. Kakashi and Yamato entered the temple. Now, where have our little minions gone? Huh? Zoro raised his head, absent-mindedly tracing the lines of a Sakura-made Yaokai containment seal on his arm. They left yesterday after solving the mystery and defeating 1/3 of the 12 Guardian Ninja. Didn't you pass them on your way back? Kakashi raised his head. They'll have flown, that's what they do. Sarutobi addressed Team 7 members. Good work. Now, I'd like to assign you a rapid reaction force job. Naruto, because you have the summon that unites the rest of the team except for Sai, you're essential for this. I plan to give each of the 20 teams being sent out to comb Fire Country for the Akatsuki one of the Fox single-use scrolls so they can call you in as backup. That is, if you and they are willing. Naruto gave a nod. They ought to be, and I am. Right? My plan is, essentially, for the Akatsuki members to be hit with overwhelming force right away. I understand you have independent intelligence on their abilities, so use it well. Right? My plan is, essentially, for the Akatsuki members to be hit with overwhelming force right away. I understand you have independent intelligence on their abilities, so use it well. Naruto, you have full authority for both Race and Shuriken and as many tails as you want to use. Hang the consequences of. Old man, you got it. Keep him alive, Sakura and Sasuke. Naruto developed a silly expression. I don't require them for that. Sakura sighed and rolled her eyes. We'll make sure the clown here doesn't go too far. Kotsu, Izumo yelled as the zombie brothers dismantled their small team. It's the scroll. The Chunin nodded and fired a large syrup capture field as he retreated to avoid Asuma's burning ash attacks and Shikamaru's new Kusari Gama. The Nara's weapon proved to be effective with the shadow sewing technique and clashed frequently with the larger, more cumbersome version Hidden carried. Clear, he yelled, slashing blood along the scroll to activate it before tossing it into the distance. Kakuzu fired a false darkness at Asuma, who had to dodge because the attack couldn't be blocked by his wind blades, and then turned to salvo whatever summon they had on the way. As Ikamaru left their ready room, Team 7 jumped. Naruto barely had time to say now, before vanishing, and then Sasuke and Sakura were dragged across the country as well. Ikamaru wound lazily out of the way of the lightning attack, taking advantage of its relatively slow tracking, and summoned Naruto as soon as he got behind a building. Naruto formed 3 clones to gather Sage Chakra, summoned Aya and Ni, and dispelled a final clone that peered over the bounty station. "Alright, guys," he said as his teammates appeared, "it's Hidden and Kakuzu. I think the best bet is to try to hit one or both of them with the Rasen Shuriken, and for that, we need to hit him before they really know we're here." One of the clones vanished, and Naruto entered Sage mode. "I'll plan the attack. Sakura, cloak the sound for me, and Ikamaru, get the team to retreat." The Raijin was drawn by Sasuke. "I might be able to block Kakuzu's attacks, but don't count on it. Best bet is to annihilate him and then blast Hidden from afar until something sticks." As Naruto's shadow clones built it, the Rasen Shuriken began to scream. "That works for me. Let me know when Asuma and Shika are free." Shikamaru maneuvered his new weapon past his opponent's triple-bladed scythe. The other ninja was too powerful to let the weapons clash any longer. He had more than enough raw muscle to knock Shikamaru off his feet and into close melee range, and even the Nara's shadow techniques couldn't get a hold of someone that strong unless the initial grab was a surprise. His expression, on the other hand, quirked slightly as the curved blade caught his opponent on the shoulder and he began cursing. The blade then shot down into the shadow of the missing nin, immobilizing him. It had been impossible to make an entire Kusari Gama out of chakra metal, but a few experiments had revealed that electroplating it was, so he could channel his family's unusual element through the entire weapon as if it were a part of him. A gust of wind passed by, whispering something about keeping his adversary still. Asuma frowned as Kakuzu launched increasingly powerful elemental attacks. That had been an earth attack, and it had been a powerful fire attack that he'd had to counter with his own burning ash, more of a fire elemental clutch, using an enriched fuel to boost his poor fire element. But it had worked, and the exploding fuel, air bomb had blasted apart the attack. He jumped back behind the cover of another ash cloud, catching the lightning attack that speared through it in his wind blades to nullify it. Now, Naruto leapt 50 meters into the air and unleashed his first Rasen Shuriken in rage. Everyone on the battlefield heard it once Sakura's sound suppression illusion was broken. The screech of a million knives on glass cutting through the battle noise. Kakuzu had barely turned when it hit him and detonated. "Yes," exclaimed Naruto as he touched down. "Remove one Akatsuki member." Sakura and Sasuke jumped onto the structure. "Hang on," muttered the Kunoichi, struggling to see through the haze of wind chakra. "That doesn't look right." "He's still there." Sasuke gave a nod. "I see it as well. There's a section of the blast epicenter where the wind chakra isn't penetrating." Naruto squinted through the dust as the Rasen Shuriken collapsed. "Damn, I thought we had him. It's some kind of S-rank earth defense," muttered Sasuke, his eyes analyzing the traces of chakra emitted by Kakuzu's skin. "That means I have to knock it down before you can hurt him." Kakuzu launched 2 S-ranked attacks against Team 7. "Everyone down," yelled Naruto, his 2 clones leaping onto the roof in front of them and channeling massive amounts of Yaokai, roughly 7 tails each. Both clones were still vaporized as the incredibly powerful attacks slashed through them, but they managed to give their original enough time to grab both of his teammates and dive underground. "Holy hell," Sakura exclaimed as they emerged 100 meters away, and Naruto activated a barrier jutsu. "How much chakra does he have?" 7 tails of Yaokai. Twice, a lightning strike smashed through the barrier, erupting in a violent aurora of dispersed power. "Huh," exclaimed Naruto. "I thought so, but 8 is a little much for you. Are you feeding that barrier just to about half the chakra of the Kyuubi, Naruto?" "Yes, I invented it for when there might be allies caught up in a battle of this level. It's called the bunker shield, and it's sort of an adaptation of what the Sound 4 and my dad did in the old man's battle against Snakey." "Got it," Sakura said, peering through the shield at Kakuzu. "Okay, that's not natural in any way. He has 5 hearts, each with a different chakra nature. No wonder he can run such a powerful earth technique." A high-pressure water attack steamed off the shield. "Looks like he has short-range tracking issues, and since Hidden was just decapitated by Asuma, He's lost his close in defense. Sasuke, do you think you can flicker that far? Sasuke laughed. Please, though I wouldn't mind some cannon fodder, Naruto. Naruto gave a nod. I can't make many clones in Sage mode. But you want a swarm of credible threats, right? I can do a few dozen two-tail clones. They'll evaporate like snow against that kind of firepower. But he can't let them in too close. All right, Sasuke said, closing his eyes briefly. However, I'll need to do a high-power flicker across that kind of range. So get the clones to contain their auras poorly. And I'll need interference so he can't spot the flare. Sakura grimaced. I know that's going to give me a headache. Anything you want me to do. Keep an eye on Hidden. I have a feeling he'll take more killing than that. From behind the building, 2 squads of a dozen two-tail clones leapt. Kakuzu retargeted his attacks and began chopping them down like grass, noting that this Jinchuriki had far less control over his aura than Yujido Nai. Perhaps it was due to the greater amount of chakra he possessed. Kakuzu formed a pair of water clones and used a wind-fire combination attack to sweep much of the nearby area. The sheer heat of the blast destroyed the clones even inside their chakra shroud, and his water clones began attacking the other ninja nearby. Despite the fact that his attacks were much weaker than the original, the fact that they came close to killing his opponents was a striking proof of his S rank. Something appeared to sprout from his chest. You know, if landing heart shots is this easy, there's something wrong with you, Sasuke said. Kakuzu replaced himself with one of his water clones and volleyed a pressure damage technique at Sasuke before enclosing himself in a water encampment boosted by wind and transforming the entire area outside the barrier into a firestorm. I'm not dead yet. Oh, I see. You're one of the Uchiha. His form distorted and split. Sakura grimaced. That can't be right. He's using Earth Grudge Fear to turn his extra hearts into monsters. Brace yourselves for S-ranked attacks. Everyone. Naruto dispersed his clones except for 3, one of whom began channeling Sage Chakra again and the other 2 were running the bunker shield. I can get 2 Rasen Shuriken off per Sage mode charge, Sakura, but I have to drop the shield when I go Sage. So I'll have to carry you out of the way with a clone. Sakura's head shook. I'll just keep my distance and stay fire-wind. His wind attacks lose effectiveness at range, and his water ones are too difficult to aim. That's his original heart, by the way, but with wind up, I can block his lightning. Just watch out for the wind mask, the insect-like one. I think it could blast your Rasen Shuriken apart, and he knows about it now. Sounds like a plan, Naruto said, looking at his clones. It's go time. All 3 were dispelled, and Naruto leapt half a kilometer out of the way of a massive intelligent hard work fire blast that followed. Sakura vanished into a genjutsu of concealment. Right, let's see. Pity none of them are close enough to something convenient to replace with. I wonder if I can somehow mess with his linking technique. No, she ruthlessly suppressed her desire to run or react. Okay, he thinks I'm not here, I said again. Mystery is my path, she blinked, shaking the feeling away. Fire resistance is extremely useful. She dashed in on the fire mask, switched her wind to water, and began hand seals. The technique she was about to try was on the verge of combining 2 elements, one of which she wasn't sure was limited to bloodlines. I really hope this works. I wouldn't try it without aspects, for sure. Boiling stream. A thin stream of water shot from her mouth, bathed in flame as it moved to warm it. She watched as it slipped past the confines of the concealment technique, and Kakuzu's fire mask spun around to find her. So she activated the previously unused fire chakra in the stream, and the entire side of the water stream exploded in steam. The blast deflected the water's trajectory, sending it straight into the fire mask creature's dodge. She had hoped that the water would be destructive on its own, but if it didn't, she would go water, wind, and boost the attack to give it a razor edge. Fortunately, that wasn't necessary because a lightning lance sailed in from Sasuke's private battle with the lightning element mask and charged the attack with electricity, which did it for her. Having a battlefield precognitive on the team was extremely useful at times. Fire mask down, she yelled, before flickering in a complex evasion pattern and sending a shadow clone on another one to allow her to restart her cloak. As a Rasen Shuriken exploded on a pressure damage attack, Naruto frowned in frustration. Damn you, how many will it take? He formed and dispelled a shadow clone with only a thought to check on that side of the battlefield after hearing Sakura's shout. Sakura had just killed the fire mask and Sasuke was facing the wind mask, so where was Kakuzu? His chakra was well shielded but still detectable there. He was resurrecting Hidden. Brilliant, Hidden's back, he exclaimed, before checking his chakra sense once more. If this lasts another 30 seconds, it'll be a real bore. Sasuke gave himself a nod. That's useful to know. As another attack came in, he braced himself with chakra on his feet and swung the Raijin. violently repelling both his sword and the bolt of lightning before they even touched. Is it possible for this thing to run out of chakra? The mask seemed to consider him for a moment before flying overhead, absorbing Sasuke's lightning attacks more or less effortlessly. Not that he expected them to do anything else, and attempting to capture Sasuke from a more difficult to block direction. The attempt failed. Sasuke anticipated such an attack and re-expanded the Raijin to the size of a broadsword. Asuma shook his head as he saw Hidden stand up again. I was sloppy, I should have done something more permanent. Shikamaru raised his head. By the looks of it, you couldn't have done anything permanent enough, though I think cutting him to pieces and killing his teammate might work. The Nara wrapped a roll of tags around the head of his Kusarigama. This time, I'll go after Kakuzu while you stay on Hidden. Hundreds of black bullets ripped the lightning mask apart. For a brief moment, Sasuke lowered the Raijin. Finally, the monstrous puppet thing that had brought them to the battlefield clicked over and spoke loudly. Hello, Sasuke. How are you? Ino, go help Asuma deal with Hidden. You don't have any blood for him to take, and I'll see if I can take Naruto's wind mask opponent. You got it, sir. Ino's voice giggled, which seemed strange coming from the undead-looking third Kazekage, and he moved across to fight the Jashinist. Choji looked downcast at his teammate's motionless body. I know that having a puppet version of one of the Cage of Sand is the best we can do to help the fight, but it seems wrong, us doing nothing but guarding her body. A lightning spear impaled the wind mask's head just as it was about to block another Rasen Shuriken, and the attack tore the mask to shards, aided by Sekira's fireball, which set the whole mess ablaze. Naruto landed from his latest jump and replenished his Sage Chakra. Which of us is going to get the kill? Sasuke shook his head. I already have one, Sekira has one. Naruto, you're looking pretty bad right now. I'll take it, if only because it means I'm on par with Ino. An explosion could be heard nearby. Looks like Shika was able to get his Kusarigama through all those water barriers and pin Kakuzu. Do you have any objections to me taking this one? As Naruto constructed yet another Rasen Shuriken, Sekira shrugged. At this point, we couldn't really stop you. Kakuzu couldn't move to properly direct his water walls because he was pinned by Shikamaru's shadow imitation Kusarigama, and the ludicrously powerful wind attack tore him to shreds. Hidden was decapitated again after being pinned in an iron coffin, and Naruto walked over and blew up the immortal with a clone's hand-delivered Rasen Shuriken. Return from that, bastard. Good work, everyone. That's 2 Akatsuki members down and both their rings retrieved. We'll send them down to the research division right away. And Waterfall send their thanks as well as a large sum of bounty money for finally killing Kakuzu. Sadly, Hot Springs can't send anything for Hidden because he wiped them out, though the accumulated bounties on him from various countries add up to a large sum regardless. Naruto gave himself a nod. She was the container for the 2 tails. Yes, the containers for the 5 and 7 tails are also dead, so Akatsuki is only about halfway done. That explains the Yaokai in the statue, Sekira thought to herself. On that front, according to intelligence reports, the 3 tails appears to be finally reforming. Danzo gave a small wave and returned to his papers. Since it's in our best interests to stymie Akatsuki wherever we can, we plan on either sealing it ourselves or re-killing it if that proves impossible. Naruto, any thoughts? 3 tails is a lot of chakra, and if it's the Biju itself rather than a Jinchuriki, it's a less useful weapon because of the lack of finesse but much harder to kill, all the sheer bulk, for a start. Rasen Shuriken is powerful enough to be a threat to one, but if it's a turtle then it's going to be focused in on defense. Hard to say. Understood. You have a month before it finishes reforming, so play around with some ideas and report back to me. Notes from the author. Nasuverse territory is Seoul areas. Hawks, Hayabusa, a peregrine falcon, named after the species' Japanese name. Tobias, sage trainee, name taken from the Animorphs book. Otters, Ring of Bright Water by Mitch. Tarka the Otter book. Marlene, Madagascar penguins. Long distance expert with an atlatl. Mongoose, Bullosarius and Valentinian, Eric Flint and David Drake's Bullosarius series of books. Valentinian was originally a human who moved so quickly that he earned the nickname the Mongoose. Other mongooses will be given names from the series as well. Rankings: Genin, Chunin, Special Jonin, Elite Jonin, Sannin, and Cage are the different ranks. Cage here refers to someone even more powerful than the Sannin, and is a rare breed in canon. The 3rd in his prime, the 4th at the time of his death, Pain, Madara, A.B. There aren't many. They all have either a ridiculously broken ability or 5, or simply Cage rank skills in every aspect of shinobi life. Canon, Sekira was Chunin, and I believe she was correct. High Chunin, perhaps, with a focus on medicine and possibly edging into Taijutsu focus Special Jonin. but she can't really fight an opponent with a large arsenal of elemental attacks. Technically, Sasuke was a genin, but that's not quite right. His rank is probably jonin, but a hidden village might be hesitant to promote him that far because of his attitude. Having said that, he handled Hebai Taka well enough to earn the rank. Naruto was a genin, which is a disgrace. He's led squads pre-time skip and led them fairly well, demonstrated masterful tactical sense in action rather than theory, and scored decisive victories against a slew of major foes. And after the time jump, he had most of his flaws ironed out, as well as access to at least one massively powerful higher rank attack in the Great Ball Rasengan. Naruto is most likely a special jonin right after the time skip. He's gotten to the point where he's elite jonin or even Sannin level as of the invasion of pain. After all, he had completed Sage mode, which Jiraiya had not. Naruto is now the Kage. That is without a doubt. He's defeating Kage level enemies in minutes, albeit with the help of a support team. Kakashi was a jonin before the time skip, and I believe he is now an elite jonin. Sannin level is still eluding him, but only just. The Kamui is a massively powerful special technique with no counter that I can see. Zulpine, Sekura is halfway between special and full jonin. Her CQC abilities are comparable to the canonical Sekura, but they are not her strong suit. That is her command of 4 elements. She enables other ninja on her team to punch above their weight by filling gaps in their skill sets. She doesn't advance to elite jonin because, unlike most Akatsuki members, she lacks an anti-army technique. But give her a few weeks and she'll make it right, especially now that she's discovered Big Ball Rasengan. Sasuke is most likely an elite jonin. His lightning elemental manipulation is becoming quite sublime, and the Raijin normally mitigates one of the major drawbacks of those attacks. He belongs in the S-class. Naruto, hide and run. He's approaching Kage rank at a fairly rapid pace, and his flaws are mostly related to subtlety. That is, at least, how it appears. Regardless, he isn't a full Kage rank fighter yet because his altered chakra states have severe limitations. And he needs a better defense. Kage ninja can always dodge or block a to S-rank jutsu. Kakashi is pretty much the same as in canon, but his Shiranui technique allows him to heal anything, even if the chakra cost is prohibitively expensive if he uses it as an attack more than once. Naruto's inner world has changed since he first obtained the Fox Summon contract 4 years ago. It's now a massive town, easily larger than Konoha, with Millie's slumbering form sprawled across the forested mountain on which the town is built. The town harmoniously uses the contours of the mountain, with little streets trickling down the slopes to the broad thoroughfares that would hold much of the commerce if it were a real city. The mountain has a harbor with a whirlpool on one side and a shifting desert on the other. The city limits the tree line as well. The entire structure is surrounded by the never-moving winds of a hurricane, with the town inside, that is, in the eye of the storm. The town represents his friends and comrades, as well as Konoha. The desert is clearly Suna, and the harbor with a whirlpool is a Minato and an Uzumaki, his parents. The town is in harmony with the landscape because he's a sage, and the hurricane is essentially the border of his mind. He has an eye where things he protects go, and the rest of it is due to his enormous levels of power. And, of course, a hurricane is a swirling maelstrom. Sakura's inner world is still that field of grass with the cherry tree. However, it too has been changed by her development. There are now dozens of trees, and a gentle wind whispers in the branches, carrying the petals all over the field. A stream runs through it, with a stone bridge across the water, and lanterns hang from the low branches of the tree. The only tree that isn't a cherry blossom sits within a meander in the stream and hangs low over the water. One Sakura looks after the lanterns, another dangles her feet in the stream, a third sits high in a cherry tree, a fourth leans over the bridge, and a final version of the girl reads books under the willow. The grass grows taller and less tame beyond the field's boundaries, which are delineated by a simple wooden fence. Within there are brambles, thorns, and a variety of spiky plants. There is a mud construction where the stream exits the field, and movement can be seen within it. Sakura's 5 aspects are represented by lanterns, a stream, a breeze, a bridge, and a willow. Fire, water, wind, earth, and medicine are all elements. Her otters live in the mud building. Sasuke's mind used to be a harsh place, where the events of the massacre unfolded in a slow spiral centered on his obsession with punishing his brother. It has now greatly improved. The basic landscape of the Uchiha district remains, though a large copper statue of Uchiha Madara rises above the houses, but there is nothing on the streets. In fact, it appears to be almost boring, until you look up. A great thunderstorm rumbles in the skies above the remnant of his clan, with the hawks of his contract circling in the updrafts from a hot day. Sheet lightning flashes back and forth across the sky, but never strikes, though there is always the slight greasy feeling of a lightning strike on the horizon. And it can't be a coincidence that the Madara statue, despite its grandeur, is practically designed to be struck by lightning. Regardless, Sasuke has acknowledged his clan and their history, but the storm above is the true heart of his psyche. It has a beauty to it, perhaps severe, but majestic in the way of a storm.
So this was it for today. I will continue the story in next part. Till then, we weeb offline.